Welcome back to the Ride and Laugh podcast. If you love mountain biking, you are in the right place. Picture your last really fun group ride. The ride's over. You're back at the lot. Everyone's stoked. You're talking about bikes, tech, progression, nutrition. You love bikes. We love bikes. Let's drop in. Sage, how are you?
Danny, I am doing so well. We are finally getting some melt after some crazy snow and crazy cold temperatures. And man, I'm excited to get out in the new bike, man.
New bike. Very exciting news.
Yes.
I have a quick question before we get into dive into that new bike comment. For listeners who are not watching the YouTube, you started off the episode with your chair raised up high enough that your head was like not in the, and it wasn't in the frame. And I'm thinking like, we got to stop. And Sage just like messed this up. And then I said, let's drop in. And you dropped in. Is that what you were going for?
Uh-huh. Yeah. I'm trying like little new intros, man. Got to give the YouTube audience a little something. Yeah. Dropping in.
Okay. All right. So soon you're going to be like swinging in from like, it's just going to get more and more complex. You're going to be like swinging in from a rope and then like, you're going to have to like get some sort of trampoline system. And I can't wait.
Yes.
We're unlimited. Yeah. Yes.
Unlimited
the
intros.
Literal
Absolutely.
dropping in. Yes. All right. So what news have you? New bike comment.
I can't believe I didn't mention this. Gosh, if I didn't mention it, I got a new Stumpy. I demoed it for several weeks.
The Infinity demo.
The Infinity demo. And I enjoyed it so much that I actually pulled the trigger on a brand new Stumpy 15. I got the Pro model and oh boy, it is delicious, Danny. It is delicious.
I heard it sounded like you almost went Spanish there. I thought I almost had a little bit of Spanish for our,
it was like
our bilingual listeners. Yeah. I know you're Spanish. It consists of two words, muy and bueno, or muy.
Yes.
Muy is your word.
You know what? That reminded me of when we went to what was it, Mountain Lemon, and every time I said La Milagrosa, I couldn't say it without. Like, you're like, yes. It's La Milagrosa.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he said it with such a panache that every time you said it, I took my gun off my holster and started shooting it into the air. Like, La Milagrosa!
Terrible.
By the way, if you're in Tucson, Mount Lemon, amazing. And La Milagrosa, the double black, like bottom section of that trail is awesome.
Dude, you ain't
really
kidding.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Check out the Trail Sage YouTube channel, and you can see us ride La Milagrosa and Mount Lemon, and you can hear Sage's accent. And we got to get back there because that is an awesome ride. So
yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations on the new bike. No rides yet. Too cold.
Yeah, I got two rides in, but they were both on the fat bike. I just wasn't interested in getting that new bike all slushy and muddy. And the first ride, it's got to be perfect, man.
Yeah. You wouldn't really get a good feel for it on a snow ride.
No,
but how frustrating having this like beautiful new bike parked in the garage and not being able to ride it. Like, I mean, are you just waking up every day like staring at the weather report? Like when?
Yes. It's been torture. It's been absolute torture, man. I can't wait for at least a good melt, and hopefully that's going to happen this week, and we get it on some dirt or something, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Or something. Yeah. Gotta be dirt. Not gonna be maybe a dirt snow combo would be okay, but well, congratulations. I can't wait to hear about it. It is different than the demo, because you demoed the S3. You talked about that size being too big for you.
Yeah.
I agree. When I saw the video and you had mentioned it, I agree. I'm not used to seeing you on 29-inch wheels. So it was all the bike looked very large for you. And I didn't know if it was just the wheels, but you felt the frame was big also.
Yeah.
And then the bonus of going down to the S2 is that Specialized, when they sell the S2, they sell it as a mullet. So 29 in front and 27.5 in the back, which is your preferred wheel size. And you haven't ridden the mullet yet. So we're going to get a report on the mullet, the size, and continued report on the bike. You did a Trail Sage bike review on the demo, which you can, if you haven't seen it, go on to Trail Sage's YouTube page and check that out and support Trail Sage and all your local YouTubers. But Yeah, really excited for you. So much to report and find out. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait, Danny. I really I more than anything, I'm kind of excited to see what the mullet is going to do, because we got to demo the Levos, the e-bikes, as a mullet, and I really enjoyed that. So, I hope that the combination of the smaller size frame and the smaller back wheel is going to be the perfect combo, and I think it is.
Did you change anything? I remember the demo had handlebars that you thought were too wide for the Northeast tech riding that you do. And was there anything else? Did you make any adjustments yet, or are you going to ride it and see?
I'm going to keep it. Great question. I'm going to keep it stock, because the plan is to do a review on the bike as it is. So without any modifications. I did cut down the bars, but that wasn't because of Northeast riding. It's just these bars come in at like 820. I mean, like they're literally like driving well, I was going to say SEPTA bus, but if you weren't from the Philly area, you wouldn't know what a SEPTA bus was. A giant bus.
Eastern Pennsylvania Transit Authority, for anyone that's wondering,
Yes.
which no one is. Move on, please, Dan. A SEPTA comment was that Sage is like, I mentioned SEPTA by mistake, and Dan's like, let's double down on that. Let's talk transportation in the Philadelphia area. Ride and Laugh 1 at Gmail. YouTube comments. Who does not want to hear about public transportation? Yes.
Hey.
Okay.
Yes.
Any bus.
But
any bus. Any public
pick a bus. Pick a bus, yes. And yeah, what happened was it's pulling my arms out so wide that it's actually putting me in a bad body position, because as my arms get wider, my torso starts to come forward. And that's really uncomfortable. So I need something that's I'm a small guy, so I need something that's going to be fit for my shoulder width. So I took it down to about 760, and that seemed to be about right. But that's the only thing I changed on the bike.
Okay. All right. And setting up suspension, they did that for you in the shop based on your weight?
Oh, man. Yeah, Keswick. Yeah. Keswick came through. Yes, absolutely. I brought my old Ibis to the shop, and then they took the two bikes, and they took all the measurements off the Ibis and put it on the new bike. Yeah.
That's a good shop.
They really hooked it up.
That's a good shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keswick Cycles in Paoli, just first class shop all around. Awesome place to get a bike. Man. So check it out if you're in the area, and can't wait to hear more about the Specialized Stumpjumper 15 mullet.
Yes.
So stoked for you, dude. So stoked for you. I know how much you like the one that wasn't your size and was full 29er. So I just can't wait to hear how awesome this thing is for you, and unlimited progression. So
that's right.
Cool. Yes.
Yes.
All right. We are reviewing episode 50, Can XC Bikes Enduro? Mountain bike pants, hip packs, hardtails on hard trails, and more. And we had a hilarious message from my buddy AJ, who is a realtor here in Arizona, and referring to the Ride and Laugh bed and breakfast, or the Ride and Laugh cabin that we were going to get. AJ wrote in, as your favorite Arizona mountain biking realtor on 27 5-point wheels, I recommend the following properties for your official Ride and Laugh Arizona mountain bike resort. Both properties have no HOA, so you can enjoy the Ride and Laugh drinking game late into the night. And I eagerly clicked on the listings. And one of them is like $1.5 million, and the other one's like $3.5 million. They're the most amazing places you could ever see.
Yes.
But if you're going to dream big. Why not? So.
Yeah, I tell you what, if we're going to be paying like millions of dollars for a house, it better come with a pump track, man. Hey, now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
All right, AJ, maybe find something that's $100,000 less, so we can build $100,000 worth of trails in the backyard. Pumps,
that'd be amazing.
Pump track and features. Yes. Yeah. You want jumps? We'll put it in the backyard.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
We're also going to need a Ride and Laugh insurance agent.
That's right. Yeah.
Ride and Laugh umbrella coverage, I believe, for the house. And
yes.
We're going to need, hey, anything's possible. All right. Been talking a lot about, especially in that episode, about an XC bike on the NAR, and Jeff Jackson, who we asked a lot of questions, and Jeff Jackson comes back with the answers, especially when you're asking Arizona questions.
Yeah.
So Jeff says you can absolutely ride the national trail on an XC bike. He's done it. You just have to go a lot slower, and it's not nearly as comfortable. I still think, yes, you can ride. I rode a hardtail national. I rode up and down. It's doable. You can have fun on it. Yep. I still think that adding suspension is going to be more fun on national. And I think that a lot of these double black diamond trails going off of National on South Mountain are just going to require at least a trail bike, and maybe an enduro bike is just going to make it a little bit more fun or safe for you, depending on where you are.
Well, I got some counterpoints to that, and you said the word fun, and I would agree in terms of just comfort, right, and in terms of bike capability. But if you're going there all the time and you're riding the same bike, I think an XC bike, as your skills improve and you learn to use your body more, can be equally as fun. I don't know how much slower it would be. These tracks, the thing is, the South Mountain, while it's gnarly, it's not like UCI Downhill gnarly. Like those rocks and those boulders are definitely dual crown enduro bike worthy. The fact that you could not take an XC bike down those trails, like you couldn't. The drops, the jumps, it would break the bike in two pieces. South Mountain is gnarly. It is absolutely gnarly, but it can be done on an XC bike, especially if you know how to pick your lines. And so that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, as you learn Old Man, as you learn Corona de Loma and you start to learn the lines, I think an XC bike would be really fun. I actually think that you would fly down that, even your hardtail. And that was kind of my point on that episode.
You need to come out here and ride these trails. You are delusional. First of all, Corona de Loma is a single black. That's doable. It's gnarly, but that's doable on an XC bike. In fact, Sean did it on an XC bike. They're one of the rides that I did with him. So, Old Man, Holbert. I haven't been on Holbert since you and I did it, but it's on my list to get back to. Ride and Laugh 1 at Gmail and YouTube comments for our Arizona listeners. And riders, is anyone taking XC bikes or hardtails down those trails anymore? I just tend to doubt it. But prove me wrong. There's people doing things on these trails that I never imagined. So there's no doubt in my mind that you could get down the trail on an XC bike, and some people are just so smooth and pick such good lines, and it's more the rider than the bike. It's just like, holy mackerel, what people can do on a bike is awesome.
Yeah,
maybe it's where I'm at. I really do love having the enduro bike. I love having the big travel bike, and it's a blast. It gives me a lot more confidence. I'm not at XC or hardtail level for that sort of chunder yet. What's the travel on the new Stumpjumper? What's the travel front and then and rear?
It's pretty close to the Ibis. It's 145 in the back and 150 in the front.
150, 145. Okay. And I'm 170 in the front and 165 in the back. So
wow. Yeah.
It's interesting because I wasn't using all of the suspension. I mentioned that I wasn't using all the suspension. And my buddy Jeff Windsor, who I've been riding at South Mountain with, heard that, and he's one of these guys. He wrenches on his own bikes, and he's figured out the suspension. And I set my bike up and then I just ride it until something breaks.
That's it. Yeah.
And Jeff's asking, all of a sudden he's asking what my weight is, and he's online. He's looking at the dynamics of the fork that I have, and he's looking it up. And sure enough, he's like, bring the bike into the garage, and we open up the fork, and it's got a couple volume spacers, and he takes one of the spacers out, and we're messing with the PSI. And I did a couple of rides, and so now I'm starting to play with it, and I let more PSI out. And for the first time recently, the rubber band was actually almost all the way used up when I rode Boulder Dash.
Jeff.
Yeah. So enormous gratitude to Jeff. Yeah, I was going to say that as one of my gratitudes of the week, because I appreciate that so much. He went so far out of his way to set that up. So maybe I'll bring it back as a gratitude as I ride the bike more and more. But
there we go.
It was pretty cool to finish a ride and be like, oh, and as Jeff would say, you paid for all that travel. You may as well get to use it.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, Jeff.
What are we doing here? Yeah. And I had a shock whiz on it. And the shock whiz, every ride would be like, take out volume spacers, add volume spacers. It was all over the place. It was just really inconsistent. I don't know. Maybe I'll try it again. But yeah, very cool. So, all right. We could talk all day about the type of bikes that we want to ride on different types of trails, and we will. But I want to get back to Jeff Jackson's comments. He also talked about, we were talking about pants, people wearing pants out here. And it's not that cold. It's not cold at all. And so Jeff said the pants are mostly a style thing. It just looks better.
Oh,
that's why most people wear them. It adds a little protection and it covers the knee pads. What do you think? Do pants look better than shorts?
I like the way my legs look, but maybe if you had some funky legs, I don't know.
Is that just way of being like, cover up those lanky ass legs, dude? Like, I don't know how to say it nicely, but you have you're all legs on the trail. It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. I have those pants and I do like the way they look and I like the way they feel, but not enough to wear it anytime where it's warm. Like I still prefer the shorts up until I can't do the shorts no more. I don't know.
How much do we care about?
Go ahead.
Well, I have a new subject and it might be a whole podcast. How much do we care about what we look like on the trails? How much thought do we put into
I care.
How we're going to look on what jersey we're wearing, what shorts we're wearing, what color shoes we have, what the helmet looks like. How much do we care?
I hate to admit it, Danny. I am very, what is that when you think about yourself?
Vain.
No, not vain. But yes, I mean that is
douchebag. I think douchebag is the word you're looking for. Selfish, self-centered. Just tell me when I get it. Just tell me when I hit it.
Superficial. Is that the right word? Okay. Superficial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's a part of me that, I'll sit there for at least a minute or two picking out an outfit because I want to look the part.
All right. We are not getting through these comments very quickly at all. So it's like the podcast guys can't keep talking. Go figure. Part of the problem is because the comments are so good, especially Jeff's this week. He answers everything. I had asked if you had asked about the Arizona sun and if what people are wearing, if people out in Arizona are covering up more because of the sun. Yeah. And this winter, like I've gotten a nice tan, but I haven't had any sunburn. I haven't worried about it. And Jeff wrote in, the Arizona summer sun is extremely intense with UV index readings at 11 for several hours at a time. So that means the summer sun is a lot harsher than the winter sun. And then he also mentions that a lot of people wear lightweight long sleeve, and there's a Arizona company called Reactive that sells a 50 SPF long sleeve shirt. They sell several of those shirts. They also sell short sleeve shirts. And many people wear those in the summer. And I'm wearing my Ride Reactive hat. I was at a bike festival this past weekend, and I met Nathan, who runs Ride Reactive. Awesome dude. I could talk more about that later, but his name is actually Nathan Fields, and I'm Dan Fields. We're not related, but we thought maybe we were. So I said that we're B fam, which is brothers from another mother. And so we're going to get a ride together. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So we're going to get a ride together for sure. Nathan seemed awesome, but check out Ride Reactive. They have short sleeve jerseys. They have cool hats. They have cool apparel. He's an artist. He designs everything. It's really, really cool stuff. I was really impressed. I bought a bunch of the swag, and I'm looking forward to wearing it on the trail. And it's good looking stuff. You can look at it. I'll put a link, but it's ridereactive.com. So support Nathan and check out all that stuff. And then the last thing that Jeff wrote was, in Arizona, most people avoid the backpack, especially in the summer, because of the backpack gets incredibly hot, and the hip packs are cooler and hipper, and lets the back breathe. So I'll have to see how much of a difference that makes as far as like comfort and back sweat. I guess that sounds kind of gross.
Back sweat. That sounds terrible. Yes.
I would rather have the water though. Like my UCI can carry 100 ounces of water. The hip pack, I don't know if do they have 100-ounce hip packs? I feel like they go like 70 or so, and doesn't it slosh around? I mean, we talked about it moving around, and I don't know. Maybe I'll have to invest in a hip pack just to find out, but I'm pretty happy with my UCI. We'll see what happens in the summer.
Yeah, I can't really speak to it because I don't ride in Arizona. I mean, it gets really hot and humid over here on the East Coast. I have never had an issue with my pack, but I don't really have a choice because not only do I have to carry the water, but I'm often carrying like 4 GoPros all the batteries, the tripods, all that stuff. And there's no way that I could fit that all into a hip pack. So, but having said that, the pack has not been an issue. The way that the back is molded, there's a channel. And so their air kind of breathes. I can't say that word. My goodness. But you know what I'm saying. The air flows through the back. Flows. Yes. Thank you. Flows through the back. No problem. So I don't know.
Yeah. My pack out here is black, which that'll be a problem in the summer, but we'll see what happens. So speaking of the summer heat, Ryan writes in, the summer sun is way more intense. But then there's something special about getting up early, beating the sun, and these dawn patrol rides or early evening rides when the sun's low in the sky. And here in Arizona, you have the Sonoran Desert is beautiful for the sunrise or the sunset. And that is a magical moment when the sun's coming up and you're out on the trail and you turn the lights out and you get these beautiful sunrises. It really is kind of a magical moment to be out on the trail and be in nature. There's something special about that.
Yep. I agree.
Ryan also says that he loves to shred South Mountain on the XC bike. It's faster in almost every type of terrain except for the gnarly chunk. And I rode with Ryan. I saw a ride. We did the national coast to coast ride, and the dude's a shredder. He's a really good rider, really smooth. Been riding here for a long time. That helps. And does riding the XC bike help sharpen the skills by riding the lesser bike?
Yes, absolutely. So. Hopefully we'll get into more about, the different bikes and what kind of bikes people should be getting. But yes, absolutely. A smaller travel or what do they say? When you go for a ride and you purposely go, you underbike. So underbiking is a thing. Yeah. Yes. And that will absolutely sharpen your skills for sure.
It's funny because on that coast to coast ride, they were talking about doing, Joe was getting ready to do an XC race. And Ryan and Joe were talking about taking the XC bike out. And we started having this conversation about the XC bike on South Mountain.
Yeah.
And I was like, boy, I never thought I'd say this, but you guys are starting to convince me to get an XC bike. I thought my next bike purchase would be an e-bike, but I'm starting to lean maybe a little XC bike. And they were all no, if you can afford if you can afford the e-bike, they were like, get the e-bike.
Absolutely. Yes.
I don't know. I mean, the price on the e-bike seems to be coming down a little bit, and you can always, I guess you could spend whatever you want on an XC bike. So, all right. And then we have Zan at Sploosh MTB. Zan, awesome commenter and great channel. So check out his YouTube as well. And Zan writes, I do love all mountain trail bike setup best, but I think in the future, my ideal bike setup is a beefy enduro for fun days and an XC Beast or Hardtail for the daily rider. Sage brought up the Switchblade. It's truly an amazing bike because he did test it and he has a video on that. And he almost bought it. He says it's very well put together. And then Zan ended up settling on the Specialized Stumpjumper Evo, which is the bike that I have back in Pennsylvania. The Stumpjumper before yours. Before you bought the Stumpjumper 15, they had two Stumpjumpers you could choose from. There was the regular Stumpjumper and there was the Evo. And so he has an Evo, which is kind of a mix between, it sounds like a great compromise because it's kind of a mix between a trail bike and an enduro bike with very adjustable geometry. So moving into, if you are on Strava, there is a Ride and Laugh Strava club page. And so go ahead and absolutely join that. We have a lot of people have joined and people are posting questions and then you're getting the response from the Ride and Laugh community.
Yes.
And it's awesome.
Love it.
So Devin, who we met at Mountain Creek, and awesome rider, really good dude, and local Philly guy, had a post saying that he has a pretty much full-on enduro bike, and he used to have a hardtail that he rode 90% of the time, but the enduro bike is great for certain things like park and certain downhills, right?
Yeah.
And he ended up selling the hardtail, which he somewhat regrets. So he said, due to the budget, I can't get two full suspension bikes, so he was kind of asking the community, should I sell the enduro and replace it with an XC bike based on our conversation that XC bikes are so much more capable, or maybe just find the budget to buy maybe a used or a cheaper hardtail and keep the enduro bike? What were your thoughts?
I mean, knowing Devin and what he likes to ride and what he likes to do, my vote would be for a trail bike. I would sell the Enduro and I would get something like the Stumpy that has a adjustable geo, where you can really slack this bike out for the bike park days, and then you can shorten it up for more XC type of rides. I know that a lot of people commented that the Hardtail would be a good second bike. And, I kind of agree with that too. If you have the budget for like a, used Hardtail and then you keep the Enduro, that's not a bad suggestion too, but I would lean toward a versatile trail bike, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah. Ride and Laugh One at Gmail, YouTube comments, or certainly go on to the Strava club page and see if you want to add your 2 cents or read about Devin's dilemma. I tend to agree with you. I think if he has a bike that he's an Enduro bike that is big travel, is slacked out, and he's only really being able to maximize that like 10 to 15% of his rides, it doesn't seem like that seems like a luxury item
right.
And if he's riding mostly kind of XC trails, I would look at something firmly in the trail bike category. I think something like a Stumpjumper, but there's so much in that 150, 140 range.
Yeah.
It may not be the fastest thing on your XC rides, but it's going to be like a great tool for everything. Unless you go XC bike and you still have a budget. No, unless you go like.
I just think that the versatility of the trail bike is just where it's at. And I know Devin, he likes to do jumps. He likes to ride the gnar. He's an all around good rider. And so you want a bike that's going to be able to do it all versus. Yeah. So then the option 2 is, or do you keep the big Enduro bike and then get a Hardtail? There's good points about the Hardtail too, though. I mean, that can serve a lot of purposes too. I just think if you sold the Enduro, I think your money would be best spent if you only had one bike to get a versatile bike, versus have 2 bikes that. Yeah. I don't know, Danny. It's a tough one, man. It's a really tough one.
This is a topic that we've been wanting to touch on, and this is something that we've been wanting to dive deeper into, and something that we've been touching on quite a bit lately is what is the best second bike to own, and then really kind of what is the best bike to buy in the beginning. So this is for anyone that's getting into mountain biking, anyone that's thinking about getting a second bike or even a third bike. Where are you in that?
Yep.
And Ride and Laugh One at Gmail and YouTube comments, what has your bike journey been like? Because so many people, I was talking to Vaughn the other day, and Vaughn's thinking about getting a road bike, which I'm trying very hard to convince him not to do.
Vaughn?
Yeah. He feels compelled. And
good
joking
for you,
aside,
Vaughn.
Yeah, and I will continue to tease him about the road bike as soon as he gets it. But joking aside, he feels compelled. He feels like it's going to be something that's good for him. He feels like he feels like he's starting to feel passionate about it. And that's intuition.
Yeah.
So, even though I will tease him because I'm not a roadie, and it doesn't appeal to me, it's absolutely, if it's something that it brings you joy and it's going to be fun, then go for it.
Yeah.
And he was talking about getting like a really nice road bike, and I was like, well, maybe you just get like a starter one and see how you like it. And he's like, well, that's what I did with mountain biking. I got a starter bike. I loved it. And then I very quickly had to sell that bike and get a nice
that's
bike.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think that was just I was just like, yeah, that pretty much like encapsulates how this works. So that's why I asked everyone to put in the comments or Ride and Laugh One at Gmail or especially the YouTube comments so we can share these stories. What was your first bike? How long did you keep it? Was it a mistake?
That's right.
Did you or does anyone ride and love this enough that they're like, okay, I'm just gonna go and spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on a good trail bike? Because that's what it costs, right? To get in on a good trail bike.
Yeah.
What are we looking at now? $6,000, $5,000?
I mean, I hate to say it, but you're probably looking at like 3 to 4 at least, for aluminum, a comp version, entry level.
Right. Yeah.
So
like the Ripmo AF, right? It's going to be heavier, but it's a good bike. You're just going to have to haul it around.
Yeah. And there's discounts. There's always discounts, especially if you're willing to go bikes 1 year later, right? There's used bikes as well. The thing is, like, I think that's the process though. You have to buy that entry cheap level mountain bike because you really don't know if you're going to love it. Everyone that's listening to this podcast, I assume, is really into mountain bikes. So
loved it.
Everyone's probably going to say, we should have went with the higher end mountain bike.
Right.
But there are probably a lot of people on the other end of that spectrum that aren't listening to this podcast that, are glad that they didn't make the investment.
Everyone that's tried mountain biking and is not listening, we're not going to get those stories.
Right in. Oh.
If you're listening and you know someone that tried mountain biking and they didn't like it, have them listen to this episode, maybe like and subscribe, maybe give us a 5 stars, which I forgot to tell everyone to do. Go ahead, like, subscribe, 5 stars, thumbs up, all that good stuff for the algorithm. We appreciate it. We love you. We love our listeners. So grab that person that didn't like it. Maybe the person that you bought the bike off of, right? I know maybe they upgraded, but
listen, my buddy Anthony, he quickly realized that mountain biking was not for him. He wanted to like it. It was something, he's he's one of my best friends over here. And I got into mountain biking, and because we're great friends, he bought a mountain bike and he wanted to do that together, and then quickly realized this was not the sport for him. So in his case, he was glad that he didn't spend a ton of money on a really expensive mountain bike. For me, I bought a cheap, I hate using the word cheap. It was an inexpensive entry-level Scott Hardtail. And I quickly upgraded that bike. I fell in love with mountain biking. Within a year, I bought a full suspension, nicer bike, and I regretted buying that Scott. But in retrospect, that's probably the right bike. Your first bike should be a do you like mountain biking bike? I don't know.
During the pandemic and the whole COVID, the shutdown, and everyone started to buy bikes, and there was the whole bike shortage. It's still affecting the bike industry in a huge way because there was such a huge shortage of bikes because so many people were buying bikes. And now we kind of see like the rebound of that, where there's too many bikes, or whatever it is. We're not going to get into the whole industry thing right now. Ride and Left One at Gmail if you're interested. But how many of those people? What we saw was a huge influx of people on the trail. I remember riding at the time and just being like, "Oh my gosh, the trails are so crowded with beginners."
Yeah,
there were so many people. Beginners on like $8,000, $9,000 bikes too. Everything was sold out. Us regular riders couldn't get anything. There was nothing in stock, and prices were through the roof. But how many of those bikes are now, sitting in sheds and sitting in garages or on Facebook yard sale for a deal, in some cases. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's sad to think about.
Yeah. So your point is, and let us know, listener, if you agree, you do need to start with the entry level bike. Very few people are going to start with anything but that because it's expensive to get into. Right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. The bigger question, Danny, is what is that entry level bike? Do you get an entry level hardtail, or do you get an entry level full suspension or e-bike? I mean, you really have 3 options here.
Oh, I forgot about the e-bike. That wasn't a thing. My first bike was a entry. I mean, it was a hardtail, but that's all there really was. I mean, I guess there was full suspensions. Back then,
but it was bad. It was bad.
This is like late 90s. I think maybe 99, 2000. And I bought a decent hardtail and I rode it. I loved it.
Yeah.
I rode it for a long time. And then eventually I did upgrade it to a full suspension.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, let's go into the premise that, did you ask me a question that I didn't answer?
No, I made it could have been a question again. I made a statement. I said the e-bike has to be included. What is the first entry level?
Yes.
Right. What is the first entry level bike? Is it a hardtail? Is it a full suspension, or is it an e-bike? And I know a few riders that went right to e-bike.
Yes.
Our buddy Rob picked up mountain biking, and I think it was because of COVID, or I think that's what he said. He went right to the e-bike.
So he rode he borrowed an analog bike. Is that what the story was? I don't remember exactly. Rob, you'll have to refresh our memory. It's crazy because you can't get an e-bike for that cheap. You know what I mean? Like he must have. He must have tried it. Look, everyone has different budgets. I mean, we're unlimited. I mean, there's certainly people can get involved in mountain biking and have a big enough budget to be like, well, I'm not sure if I like this, but I'm going to get the best mountain bike I can get. I'm going to get the best set of skis or the best snowboard I can get, and there's nothing wrong with that. If more power to you. So if you can afford it, but I think in the majority of cases, we're looking at entry-level bikes, kind of dipping your toe in the water.
Well,
starting with an e-bike is kind of saying like the fitness part of it maybe intimidates me, but I want to enjoy the rest of it. Is that what it says?
You know what? But I'm gonna here I am trying to like toe the line and be a nice guy. That's out. I'm gonna put my foot down. I'm not gonna take the gloves off, but I'm gonna say for me,
gloves are staying on, foot is coming down.
Foot. Yes.
I'm leaving my gloves on, but my foot coming down.
I'm going to make a stand.
Okay. Oh, taking a stand. Okay.
I'm not going to.
Both feet are coming down and you're standing
Yes.
up. Okay.
That's right. I'm not going to be wishy-washy here. I'm going to give you my opinion. My opinion is I think the appropriate first bike is a hardtail. And here's my reasons why. I just think that if you are going to get into mountain biking, you're going to get the most from a hardtail. You're going to learn a lot about yourself. It's going to be hard, and maybe that's a deterrent. But if you end up liking mountain biking, the hardtail is going to give you the discipline. It's going to give you the skills, and it's going to be budgeted probably appropriately for your first bike. You know, I don't know. So I'm going to stop being wishy-washy, and I'm going to say that is the right entry-level bike. Danny?
I agree with you. I mean, I just bought my 13-year-old daughter a hardtail. You know, like she's not getting a full suspension bike until she shows that she's like passionate about this and riding this all the time, wants to ride it all the time. And any trails that I take her on at her skill level right now are totally hardtail appropriate. So there's no reason for me to spend extra money and for something that she hasn't shown that she's going to absolutely be using a ton. I mean, this is a kid's bike conversation is a little bit different. But you could say this about yourself also. Like, I'm just not sure how much I'm going to use it. And entry level trails are totally hardtail appropriate. And you can take a hardtail up to a very, very high level of riding. Absolutely. And learning how to maneuver the bike without rear suspension is going to be valuable. And I would say even the most important thing is where hardtails have gone in the past really like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
The major brands just were not they were making these same old geo entry-level hardtails for years and years and years. And slowly the major brands started to catch on and say, we should make our hardtails really capable. They should not just be like these same old geo bikes. They should be capable. So the hardtail bike out there, the entry-level hardtail bikes are pretty nice now. I was pretty impressed when I was looking for my daughter.
Well, I'm slightly disappointed. I thought you were going to come back at me with something. I mean, you ended up agreeing with me. So I will go against myself. So I'm changing faces. And
how about you go from Japanese sage to Italian sage? Italian sage has a whole different. Hey, forget about those hardtails.
Forget about it.
I promised Dennis I wouldn't do any more accents.
Oh, please don't. Oh gosh. But okay, so let me play devil's advocate because I know I just said hardtail. What about all the people that are going to be turned off by the hardtail? Had they gotten an e-bike or full suspension where mountain biking is clearly much more fun, as we said in the beginning of the podcast with going down these gnarlier trails, a full suspension bike is more comfortable. You can sit through a lot more things. An e-bike is certainly a lot easier. You don't have to mess with the fitness. So maybe you fall in love with mountain biking a lot easier. Maybe that's the better entry level bike, said Italian Sage.
I think that's a great point, Italian Sage.
Stop agreeing with me.
I think it really. I love all your nationalities. You need a third personality. You need another. We got to do a DNA test so we can get some more accents out of this guy. And here comes the Norwegian Sage for the e-bike point. Here we go.
Yeah.
I thought Norwegian was a safe one to do since you have no idea what that accent sounds like. You couldn't embarrass yourself.
Yeah, nothing.
Never mind. Hold my beer, he says. Oh, I can embarrass myself. You just wait. Wait. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. All right. Sorry, all our Norwegian listeners.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to budget. You know what I mean? Like if you could afford a trail bike, then I would go trail bike. It will be more fun. It will be more capable. If your friends say, let's go to the downhill park, you will feel more confident doing that. So if you have the budget for it, then I would say first bike, trail bike every time. I think we wax poetic about our experience. We learned on hardtails, and that sharpens the skills, but it's not as much fun. Like there's something about riding a full suspension bike where you can unleash a little bit more speed and take a little bit more risks, and everything's a little bit smoother. You don't get as beat up. Maybe it does bring a little bit more joy. My hot take, and this isn't going to really go well with the whole which bike should you own first. My hot take is that everyone should have 2 bikes. So if someone's getting into mountain biking, they're asking me, I'm like, you're not buying 1 bike, dude. You got to buy 2 bikes. Now, you don't have to start with 2 bikes, but I really feel like once you get into mountain biking, you're going to own 2 bikes. I mean, try finding a mountain bike. Sorry, Devin, if you sold your second bike and you're regretting it, right? Try finding a mountain biker that's passionate about mountain biking that doesn't have at least 2 bikes, because that first bike goes down. And we also talked about mixing it up and having different things to ride. You're riding different, and South Mountain, a lot of the guys take the XC bike out and they're riding different trails. There's easier trails. You don't have to take it on the Black Diamond and Double Black. You can just go out for a rip.
I think that the second bike is part 2 of this conversation. Like I think we're making horrible points because you're agreeing with everything I'm saying. This is the worst conversation.
What's this conversation? I thought this conversation was going to be best second bike, but we're really talking about best first bike.
Yeah, what's the appropriate first bike? And I think that the best second bike is part 2 of this conversation. And I think I know I have plenty to say on that. I'm not sure we made a very clear argument for which should be the first bike. So right here, right now, Danny, what are you saying is the right what are you? Take a stand here. Take the gloves off. Take your pants off. I don't know what you were saying. No, leave your pants on.
Okay.
What is your take?
I'm saying trail bike, if you could afford it, I think is the most fun first bike. But you could easily convince me hardtail. I love the modern Geo hardtails. I just think a trail bike is going to open up so many options for you, but it's a lot more expensive.
Yeah, you're saying trail bike, but really it's not about a specific suspension bike. You're saying full suspension bike is what you're saying, whether it's down country or trail bike or enduro. You're saying a full suspension bike, and really you get one on the budget. It's okay.
I'm not being definitive enough, because the problem with a cheap full suspension bike is that it's probably going to be heavy. And if you get a hardtail, then it's lighter, and so the fitness that you don't have yet, maybe, is less impactful. So you can kind of get up the hills a little bit better. I am terrible.
You are terrible. No one's going to buy. I don't know how many beginners are listening to this. And so I don't know how important this conversation would be, but I'm going to say
every beginner is listening to this.
Hardtail.
This is going to be the go-to listening podcast. This is going to be the go-to. People are going to search, what bike should I buy? And this is going to be the first thing that comes up, because we're the #1 mountain bike podcast in the world.
And they're going to leave this podcast. Give them nothing. That's right. More confused than when they started. Absolutely. Yeah. No, I will take a definitive stand, and I will say a hardtail still. So I'm going to go back to when my shoes were off, and I'm going to say a hardtail, because here's the thing.
No. Your gloves were on. Your foot was down. Your shoes never came off.
That's right. Yes. I'm taking the gloves. I'm retaking them off. Yes. No, I'm putting them back on. You left your
gloves on. You put your foot down.
Put the foot down.
So
gloves are off.
Gloves are off now. Okay. So you left the gloves on before.
No gloves.
Foot's down. Yeah. Gloves are off.
Yes, I'm going to say hardtails, and I'm going to take a hard stance here. And I know it might not be popular, and that's okay, because I feel like I should take a stance. And the reason why I'm going to say hardtail is, first, you can get a better bike for whatever budget you have. So if you only have $1,000, you can get a better hardtail than you would a full suspension. That's point 1. 2, a hardtail is really going to teach you the things that you need to learn on mountain biking. Is it going to be more fun? No. Is it going to be a lot of work? Yes. But to me, that's part of my mountain bike experience. And if that's a turnoff to some people, then that's a shame. It's a shame. But to me, a fitness is part of my journey. That doesn't mean that's the appropriate answer for everyone. But for me, fitness is part of why I got into mountain biking, why I continue to stay in mountain biking. If your goal is fun and downhill parks, then obviously this is not going to be appropriate for you. And my third point is the hardtail is really going to give you the fundamental skills that you will be able to take to any bike. You and I spent so many years, not just on a hardtail, but on a single speed hardtail. That's next level. That crafted the type of person that I am today, not just for mentality, you know, because as a single speeder, you really have to grit and grind through some really hard things, but it taught us how to pick lines. You know, it taught us how to maneuver our bodies around. Not only were these hardtails, but they were like old Geo hardtails. So you were really working the bike. They wouldn't even have droppers. So I don't know. To me, I think the hardtail is going to give you the most bang for the buck, but I also understand that it's going to turn off a lot of people.
I think you make several really, really good points, very interesting points. And what occurs to me is that, especially with how expensive mountain biking can be, that we're starting with a budget. You know, people get shocked when non-mountain bikers hear how expensive our bikes are.
Oh my gosh,
the jaws drop. It's almost like embarrassing to tell someone, right, how much these bikes cost.
It's terrible.
That doesn't mountain bike, you know?
Yeah, it's too much.
So here's what I think is probably, if you're a new mountain biker and you've listened this long and we're coming to the conclusion, and Ride and Laugh 1 at Gmail and YouTube comments your opinion on what the best first bike is for mountain bikers, what you would recommend. It really comes down to budget. Spend the $1,700, spend the $1,500, get a nice hardtail. Ride that on the easy trails. Ride that on the intermediate trails. See how passionate you are. You are going to know if you want. So what people don't want to do is to buy the big entry-level bike and then have to turn around and buy the good bike. You know what I mean? Like, it would be better. I should have just bought the good bike in the beginning, but you're not going to know until you just get out and start riding. So go out there and find the passion. Make sure this is something that you love and don't worry about it. And if you already feel like there's a really good chance I'm going to love this, then freaking go for it and get the bike you want. Go to your bike shop and talk to people. Go into Pink Bike and read reviews. Watch all the YouTube channel. If you're enjoying all that, you love it. You already are in it. Unless you're just one of these people just loves buying new things all the time. But I think like ignite that passion, and then you're going to know, because we spend way too much money on bikes for what people would consider. We spend way too much money on bikes. I just told everyone you have to have at least 2 bikes, and I could easily make an argument for 3 or 4 as a requirement for mountain biking. Like, you know, like if you really want to enjoy it, it's just, we just love biking so much. And then the gear that it's not a cheap sport. So get in, feel the passion, and then you're going to know. You're just going to know. That's my 2 cents. And I do have a follow-up question if you wanted to respond.
Did you? You just went back to hardtail. And I don't appreciate it, because you said full suspension. That was your choice. And then you just said hardtail.
Well,
at the beginning of your rant.
Conclusion. We want a conclusion for our new bike listeners. I mean, this podcast is going to have legs for years and years and years. People are going to be listening to this for a long time. People are going to be they're going to be interested in getting into mountain biking. They're going to be finding this podcast on YouTube or on their podcast player. This might be the first mountain bike podcast that they listen to because they're really just getting interested. Obviously, they'll go back and listen to all 51 before this, and probably all million after this. You know, but this is the first one. So, you know, I forget the point I was making about that. Oh, we need a conclusion. The conclusion is hardtail.
Yeah, the conclusion is you're Mr. Wishy-Washy. And now people know it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm not.
One glove on, one glove off.
Yeah, I got both shoes on. I got no socks. I don't know what's going on here. And Ride and Laugh 1 at Gmail and YouTube comments. Do you agree with us? Is a hardtail the best first bike? Would you recommend someone go right into a full suspension bike? How did you get into it? What was your bike journey?
Or e-bike.
Did you regret buying a bike and then upgrading quickly? How long does it take to upgrade? It's been so long since Sage and I went through this that it was just as a different industry. I mean, our stories are interesting, but they're not relevant to today, to someone getting into mountain biking today.
Not that interesting.
I think they're interesting. No? Ride and Laugh on the Gmail. Do you think it's interesting? Yeah. We'll put a poll up on the Strava ride page. Is this are these stories interesting?
Danny, I think what we have to do is we have to say there's definitely a part 2 to this one. I think we should definitely do a segment on, okay, if you have your first bike, what would be your second bike? And I can't wait to get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, let's get into gratitudes.
My mountain bike gratitude of the week is a fantastic one. It is a bike festival that I went to this week, put on by the Halls Trail Alliance and Hallsaholics, which is a Facebook page. It's called the Halls Fest, and it's a mountain bike festival. It was celebrating all the trails at Halls. If you haven't been to Arizona and you haven't ridden Hawes, just look at Trail Forks. It is a spider web of trails, and they're all really well maintained and they're all really well built. And a lot of them are bike specific, and there's older, like kind of legacy trails that are a little bit more gnarly. They built flow trails. There's double black diamond tech trails that they built, which I absolutely love. There's jump lines, there's gaps. It's just an awesome place. And so the Halsaholics put on this festival, and it doesn't cost anything to go. You just go, and it's just there's group rides. So you could do all sorts of different level rides, and they're guided, and there's booths and there's vendors. I talked about Ride Reactive and Nathan being there, and the Halls Trail Alliance was there, and I met Lauren, who is Stephanie's training partner, and she had heard the podcast that we did with Stephanie, the Pivot Factory Racer. Yeah, she was super cool. And so join the Halsaholics if you're in the area, and certainly support the Halls Trail Alliance and anything you can check out the festival. It was awesome. It was really high vibes, and it was really well attended, and just people love mountain biking out here, and the weather's great in the winter. So it was a great time to have it. There was different rides for everybody. We did the tech ride, the expert tech ride, which went through Boulder Dash, and met a whole bunch of new riders. I met Owen and Garrett and Nathan, and everyone was riding awesome, all different levels, but everyone supporting each other, just like everything mountain biking is about. It was cool.
Yeah. I got to tell you, Danny, I'm glad you went, because we're going to have a tent there next year. The Ride and Laugh tent at the Haas Fest. Yeah.
Okay.
Unlimited. Yeah.
What's the tent going to do? Are we giving away breakaway pants or selling breakaway pants?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes, please. By the way, I found out the perfect thing for the breakaway pants. I was waiting. I was on it's been snowing here like crazy, and it's been so cold, and I'm sitting there waiting for everyone to get ready for the ride. And I was like, man, I was in my shorts because it was going to be a cross country ride. I was like, if I had breakaway pants right now, I would be absolutely wearing them while everyone's getting ready. And then when it's time to ride, wham. Oh my gosh. I was like, this is it.
You know what else I want? Okay. All right. So breakaway pants for before a cold ride.
Yeah.
But what about a sweatshirt that's big enough that you can put it over the hydration pack?
Oh man.
So then when you want to ride, then you can just take it off and go. I guess it's only useful for
breakaway sweatshirt.
Breakaway sweatshirt.
It's a whole suit. It's a onesie.
You can just unzip it. You don't need breakaway. It's all sweatshirts are breakaway. Oh no! If it has buttons in the back, you could just like rip it off. That would be way too much work. Yeah. I guess you don't want to wear a giant sweatshirt just for the 7 minutes twice a week that you're waiting in the parking lot for your friends.
Yeah. No.
But I wish I had one.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much.
Gosh. Oh boy. All right. Well, listen, my mountain bike gratitude actually goes to AJ and Vaughn, who you talked to, and you told me that they really enjoyed the YouTube version, and also in the Strava group, the Strava club, the Ride and Laugh club. Jenny had wrote down, she had asked a question, who prefers what they listen to, and Eric and Brian and Pepe and Jenny, they all said they enjoyed the YouTube. And the reason why I bring it up is because you and I spend an exorbitant amount of time cutting these videos and doing the graphics for the YouTube version. This is a podcast, and yet there's this huge video component that we spend hours and hours and hours of time doing. And it's just refreshing.
And collecting the footage.
To know. Yeah, collecting the footage. And it's just refreshing to know that it's worth it, that people are watching this. And so for everyone that is appreciating the YouTube version of this, thank you. Gratitude. I love you guys. It's fantastic. So that's my gratitude.
Yes. I love it. The podcast is awesome. And if you're just listening on audio and that's the way it works for you, we appreciate that. Gratitude.
Yes.
Don't feel like this is a slight in any way. I've always said sometimes some of these episodes are worth going back and just watching again on YouTube, or fast forwarding to some of these parts, like the Jeff Lanoski one, where to see some of these things that we're talking about him doing on trials. The Stephanie episode, with Mike, to see some of these things, and we talked recently. We just talked about Kyle and Rob Drew climbing the waterfall, and Kyle jumping up onto these ledges, and then Sage and I trying some of these things. But yeah, I really appreciate everybody, Vaughn and AJ, for those comments and telling people at the festival that the
Yeah,
the
to go
podcast
watch
is really
it.
good, and watching it on YouTube is really cool. And the people on the Strava Club, piping in and saying, yeah, this is a cool way to see it. Sage puts a lot of work into it, especially Sage. And so gratitude to everybody, and gratitude to you, Sage, for putting that together for everybody's enjoyment. It's awesome.
Well, I'm going to cut that last part out, but thank you, Danny.
Don't
My
deflect.
mountain bike tip.
Don't deflect.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. My mountain bike tip goes back to some of the stuff that we were talking about earlier, and especially has to do with the Stumpy that I got. And I briefly mentioned bringing my Ibis in to have it match my Stumpy. So they took all the measurements off of my Ibis, the saddle height and the bar length and, where my pedals were positioned, all this stuff, and they transferred it right to the Stumpy. Well, the only reason why that was possible was because I got a bike fit. I went out, and I think 3 or 4 years ago, and it was quite a bit of money. But I spent the money.
It was
to get
longer
fit.
than that. It might have
been, but my body hasn't changed that much. I'm still pretty much the same dimensions. And so all the numbers that I collected from that, so that I imagine that I think the bike fit was close to $200. It was a good chunk of money, but I've been able to use that for every single bike I've purchased. Those numbers have translated every time. And the reason why it's important is you're spending a lot of time in the saddle, on the saddle. It makes a huge difference if your bike is fit to you. You just spent $5,000 to $6,000 or whatever, however much you spent on a bike. Why not get this thing tuned? Yeah, right. Yeah, even more. Why not get this tuned for you? It's so important. And I don't know, it seems like a no-brainer to me, but it also occurs to me that it's a lot of money, but it pays itself off. It really does. It makes a huge difference in how that bike feels. So if you are interested, talk to your local bike shop and see if they do a bike fit and inquire about how much it is. I guarantee it's worth it.
I agree. There's nothing like riding your bike and doing what you love to do, and your knee starts to hurt because you've got this repetitive motion and your knees aren't lined up, or you're getting a cramp in your foot,
saddle
or something
sores
starts to bother you, saddle sores, lower back pain, right? I mean, there's just like nothing kind of stinks more than doing something that you love and it's just not comfortable. So get that professional fit if you're experiencing that, and just know that you're doing this right. We spend so much time on the bike. We spend so much money in this sport.
Yep.
Make sure that you're fit onto it properly. My story is similar to yours. I knew you had the bike fit, and I was riding my single speed and I was experiencing lower back pain.
Yeah.
And I just felt like maybe I'm not fit on this thing right. And you had that bike fit. And I called them up and they said, a good bike fit can make you 5 to 10% faster. And I was like, take my money.
Take my money.
Yeah, I mean, we will upgrade our wheels. We will upgrade our drivetrain. We'll upgrade we'll get a little bit of weight off of here. You know what I mean? We'll skip a meal, light enough for our next ride. Like if you're fit on there properly and it makes you a little bit faster and it makes you more comfortable and you can ride longer, I think it's a home run. So I think the bike fit is an excellent tip. And very curious what other people think about it. YouTube comments on rideandlaugh1@gmail.com. If that's still like kind of an important thing, it seems like it's a bigger thing in road riding because road riding is so much more uncomfortable.
Yeah. You would think that road riding and let's include the trainer as well. If you're on the trainer, you're in a fixed position. Anytime you're in a fixed position, it's going to make a huge difference. I was experiencing saddle sores and some numbness in my hands sometimes. And just by making a few adjustments, I was able to fix all that. So really, yes, it makes more sense if you're on a trainer or a road bike, but I would argue that it's just as important on the mountain bike. But again, if you're not riding that much, maybe it's not. And if you're not having any issues, maybe it's not. I'm just saying it was worth it. And I think you agree, Danny.
All right.
Take us home.
If you're still listening, you're definitely one of us. You love mountain biking. If you're new to mountain biking and this is your first mountain bike podcast, welcome. Comments are great. rideandlaugh1@gmail.com. Like and subscribe. Give us 5 stars on your podcast player and on the YouTube player. We appreciate everyone. Have a fantastic week and a great week of riding. Ride and laugh.
I'll see you, everyone.